What is up? Welcome back to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin as well as many of the macro charts and indicators. Starting off with fear and greed, we can see that Bitcoin and crypto is in the fear territory. You can see we've been in extreme fear very recently. So hopefully forming a bottom after these lower lows. And what we are looking for is some higher lows going from fear towards neutrality and greed. Maybe something like we saw back in March to April when fear was a leading indicator. Now, you've probably seen in the news that the government shut down, got the votes they needed. It's just formality now, and hopefully it ends. And what usually happens, as far as some almanac data goes, is you see a lot of green. So maybe a little bit of chop within the first few weeks up to a month. But after that, there is a lot of green after the government shutdown ends. So hopefully that holds up. And as far as where we currently are with Bitcoin, you can see that we've had a number of pullbacks on this way up. This has been the cycle of 20% pullbacks. This is just showing during uptrends, by the way, or bull markets. They don't show all the 30% drops here during a downtrend. And as far as the current pullback from high to low, we can measure that out and see it. Actually, I haven't done this in a while. There was another 20% pullback. So we have had a lot of 20% pullbacks on the way to this current most recent top. Now, as we talk about the macro charts and data, I'm going to be referencing a couple things quite a bit. One of those will be Bitcoin dominance. And recently we've seen that Bitcoin dominance has turned bullish. We'll see if there's any signs of that changing, because when Bitcoin dominance is going up, that tends to not be good for many of the altcoins that we hold. I'll also be talking about this flow chart of the path to alt season. We've been talking about this more and more because right now we are in phase 2 Ethereum season. Ethereum overall macro-wise is strengthening its value against that of Bitcoin. And in the last 2 cycles, when Bitcoin topped and was too expensive to keep buying, that is when we had a rotation into large caps and altcoins. And that's when Ethereum dang near did a 2x from the levels and went much higher. And so we'll be seeing the charts and looking for any indications of that in the coming future. As far as seasonality and almanac perspective goes, you can see we had a negative October. And I think November might not be the hottest unless all of a sudden we kick in the overdrive pretty soon. But November, it's been a little bit choppy. It's been a little bit red. I do think we are in store for a very positive December, whether or not November gets going by the end. As far as altcoin season versus Bitcoin season, right now we are still heavily in the Bitcoin, of course. And this is the rainbow chart, our log regression chart. And you'll see the log scale, by the way, means factors of 10. And we regress, we stretch over time. I've been doing a few live streams lately where I've been talking about how the 4-year cycle, I don't buy into it as much because with this logarithmic regression, each cycle from bottom to top, it stretches like a rubber band a little bit more each time. We confirm that in the data. I'll show you that again today. But for the sake of the rainbow chart, you can see the light green zone gets down there as low as 87K. I don't know if we'll get that low, but I am still looking for those orange zones starting at 150K, going almost to 250K. So 150 to 200K, that has long been my sort of range territory where I could see Bitcoin having a topping process, at least as far as conservative cycle top predictions go. Now, I do talk about other crypto assets on this channel. I talk about Bitcoin mining stocks. I talk about different altcoins. I'll do YouTube shorts on different altcoins. So if you have any requests for certain altcoin analysis, comment below and I'll try to do a YouTube short on that shortly. So anyways, let's get into the charts as far as Bitcoin goes. You can see it's settled and bounced right off this blue line. And if you're wondering what this blue line is, that is our 1618 macro fib extension. So what I have here is a Fibonacci retracement high to low. And when your fib's off log, you can see the extensions, and the 1618 is there at 101K. That is where Bitcoin's getting support, as well as the 50-week moving average. Now, this has been support the last few times for Bitcoin, but you can see that after Bitcoin has tested the 50-week moving average, the last 2 pullbacks, just about 5 weeks later, it tested it again, whether it's a higher low or a lower low. So something to keep in mind that in the following weeks, it is very possible that we just continue to chop sideways. And if Bitcoin dominance continues to be bullish and go up, that's going to make our altcoins a little bit cheaper or put them at more of a discount. So I think we have a window over the next few weeks to possibly get some deals in crypto. Now, as far as this move goes, are we done moving down? Have we for sure put in a bottom yet? I don't know. As I look sideways, I see all this structure over here in the mid 90Ks. Now, on the weekly, we can still have a candle body hanging above the 50-week moving average, hanging above the 1618, but we can get wicks. So it is possible that this move isn't done, that we might get a little bit more of a sell-off. There are a lot of longs here in the 93 to 94K area, which makes sense as far as the structure goes. So do keep an eye out for that. Another thing we looked at yesterday during the live stream, it's always fun when you guys catch those and we have good conversations, is that from this low to high, you can see that Bitcoin, let's take this, put it on the log. It's like something doesn't look quite right. We did hit that 382 pullback there at 100K. So we have our micro fib, we have our 1618, we have our 50-week moving average. It's a lot of good things to show support. Now, we need to look underneath the hood a little bit at some other indicators to see, are we getting ready to flip strength and momentum? In a couple ways I do that is by looking at the MACD, the moving average convergence, divergence, as well as one of our RSIs. And you can see these are pretty bottomed out right now, but it doesn't mean that they're done. We can stay bottomed out. I'm waiting for positive moves up with the stochastic RSI, with the MACD. So seeing these dark red boxes go to light red, crossing to the positive sign, going from light red to green, seeing these positive moves up. And I'm also hoping that the MACD stays in positive territory. When the MACD crosses down in the negative territory, that usually isn't a good thing. So hopefully, even if we see the MACD come down a little bit, we can maintain that positive momentum. Now, we haven't taken a look at the monthly in a while, and the monthly is kind of going to be tested here. You can see it may start to flip a little bit negative. Doesn't mean that we can't stay bullish or that we might get a higher low and then move up, and hopefully we see that on the stochastic as well. But you can see momentum is showing signs that it could be possibly weakening over time, and that is something to keep an eye on. Now, one of the things we were taking a look at with the rainbow chart is that it's telling you about each cycle being stretched more and more, and that was the bottom to top ratio, how each time the bottom to top, those red lines are the top. 750 days, I'm just going to use round numbers from bottom to top, from the second cycle bottom to top, and they won't be perfect numbers. 850 days, so you can see 100 days that it was stretched a little bit more, bottom to top from here, bottom to top. An extra 200 days. Okay, so extra 100, extra 200. Are we going to get an extra 1 to 300 days from this bottom to top? So that would put us somewhere around 1250 or even something like 1450. So sometime in 2026, could we see this cycle being stretched further, again, like a rubber band pulling further out? Going back over to the rainbow chart, I think this shows it pretty well. Again, the rubber band, just think bottom to top, being stretched horizontally. Bottom to top, it is stretching further horizontally. Bottom to top, being stretched further. And I've talked at length the last couple of videos about how we have 3 different tops this last cycle. If you're looking between the halvings, technically speaking, March 24 was the cycle top. Now, this would fit nicely with the 4-year cycle. Theorists or ideas out there, and people are worried about the 4-year cycle and it being over, but we had an alt season earlier, so that was a top. And 21 in November, there was the 4-year cycle top, but here's the technical top. So I'm not worried about it as much. I just sort of look at it as, you know what, each cycle, as I said, bottom to top, we can see that stretching effect. And that is what the log regression, the rainbow chart, is all about. It's not to give us exact predictions, but it is showing us that phenomena. The log regression is that we are being stretched. Now, going over to the chart and seeing what that looks like, if we go over to the weekly and add on our log regression indicator, let's do that right now. You can see that these last few tops, as we've gotten higher into that red band, where's the upper area of that red band? It is right between the 2618, the 3618, 150 to 200K, if it gets in that area. And remember, as we're taking a look at the rainbow chart, even if we go to next January, where is 150 to 200K? That is in one of our orange log regression bands. So definitely something to keep an eye on should Bitcoin start to have a move up and put in a local bottom here. So if that bottom holds at the 50-week moving average, strength, momentum resets, I am still eyeing that 150K plus. Now, as far as Bitcoin dominance, what we talked about earlier in the video, where was it? Here it is. We are looking for Bitcoin dominance to eventually go down. That is when we've had alt season and when we get to these higher phases, phase 3 and phase 4. Now, what's kind of cool to see right now is on the weekly, Bitcoin dominance is getting a rejection off that 20 and 50 weeks. So we do have these wicks, but we're getting these lower highs. So could this be a possible area for Bitcoin dominance to put in a local top and we just sort of zigzag down? That's something I'm looking for. Another indicator I've been showing you guys a lot lately is our MACD, and that shows that overall, you know, these moves, this strength has overall been moving to the downside. We got to flip down. Yes, it's flipping up a little bit, but you see in the past when we have these moves, these moving averages trend up, you can see how eventually it pulls it. Okay, sort of like a bearish divergence, a bullish divergence that trend down. So I am taking a look at overall the momentum going down and eventually pulling Bitcoin dominance down through these areas of support. So make no mistake, when you're under the 50-week moving average, you are technically bearish. And so if we stay under this, Bitcoin dominance is still bearish, which is bullish for our altcoins. Let's go over to total 3. They said an important area to watch for would be this 50-week moving average, as well as lower area of that channel, $913 billion. So keep an eye on your altcoins as we're in this area for discounts. This is our phase 2 chart. Let's go back to that. Here we are. Phase 2, our Ethereum Bitcoin chart. Ethereum's market cap is 0.2, that of Bitcoin, 20% of Bitcoin's. So when we take a look at the MACD yet again, look at this massive downtrend. Are we now starting to get a flip to the upside or reversal of trend? And when Ethereum Bitcoin has gone up past 0.25, this 0.5 fib, this is when we've had alt season. All right, so we encountered resistance there yet again, just like in 2020. And on the next moves up, I think it's going to get very interesting, and that could line up with late November, December, January. So I think that time is coming soon, and I like what the MACD is showing us. This is a phase 3 chart that I made, and overall we do see the trend coming up, but we need to make no mistake, this is an 8-year giant wedge. If we're going to have alt season for our large caps, we got to break out of this wedge, this 382 at 0.24, and get to one of these higher fib levels, whether it's a weak alt season somewhere at the 0.5 or back to the macro golden pocket. That would be a strong alt season, remains to be seen. Others dash Bitcoin, overall, we can see divergence here, slowly trending up. So a divergence as far as momentum and strength, whereas the price is getting lower. So this is our phase 4 chart. Keep an eye on that. And this is tether dominance. Overall, I mean, this would be kind of bearish because you see the momentum flipping up. And so I think, you know, across the market, what do we see? Things are coiling, and we are getting near the end times as far as this cycle. Hey, if you believe in the 4-year cycle that it's over, You're more than welcome to believe that. If you got in any Bitcoin mining stocks, I guess it'd be smart to take profit from that perspective. But if we do see, as I talked about on those crypto metrics, those start to round over, and if tether dominance can come back down even to this 3.6% area, that is an area where we can get local tops for Bitcoin. So tether dominance, you retain your value of $1, you can see how it's inversely correlated with Bitcoin. So lower tether dominance, we're risk on, Bitcoin's high. High tether dominance, Bitcoin low. Low tether dominance, Bitcoin high, so on and so forth. Right now, we're putting in a low, so hopefully tether dominance stays here, but if it remains bullish, we might see Bitcoin get a little bit lower before eventually, hopefully, tether dominance comes back down. And so, yeah, just overall, I think, again, the thing I'm leaning on lately is a couple things. Ethereum, Bitcoin, we see that momentum pulling it to the upside. We see Bitcoin dominance momentum pulling it to the downside. We're going to get these moves where, it's not going to go straight down. We're going to get these relief rallies, whether that's positive or negative for our wallets. So just something to keep in mind. I try not to be too obsessed with the timing of it all, like many of the 4-year cyclists are. And remember, we just showed that with log regression, you are getting an increased stretch. I want you to think of a rubber band stretching more and more each time. That is what the log regression shows, is that it flattens out over time. Not that we can't continue to make money, but our returns are going to be diminished. So instead of getting 1,000x on Bitcoin here, or 100x, or a 50x, maybe it's a 10x. So each time it flattens out, it stretches, it takes more time, and that, I think, is just to be expected. So I think if you keep in mind these two different charts, what Bitcoin dominance does, as well as the flow of our classic Bitcoin to alt seasons, I think this is guiding the way. As far as the metrics, the charts are concerned, nothing's over yet. And I'll tell you what, guys, when I see more and more retail investors saying it's over, I'm bullish. And I think that's part of being a market psychologist. Again, separating the smart money from the dumb money, which is us. That's retail. And so we try to get an edge. We try to use emotion as an indicator, not a decision maker. So if I hear a lot of retail giving up, to me, it kind of makes sense. But remember, let's go to Bitcoin. We had the largest crypto liquidation ever in history, $20 billion right here. This is where Bitcoin got to, all right? It got to this level of 104K, and it's still technically bullish above the 50-week moving average. So again, this is something I say, like, largest liquidation ever, and we're still technically bullish above the 50-week moving average. The Fed is pivoting to quantitative easing in December. They are continuing to cut rates, and if gold has formed a local top 2, there's a lot of bullish factors on the horizon. Even this government shutdown can be bullish catalyst as well. And in the stock videos, we talked about how the Shiller P ratio, it is showing we are in a bubble. However, when we were in a similar bubble in the dot-com era, 1999, we still went up for 25% in a year. Now, it was volatile, and crypto is crypto. It is very volatile on the way up. I'm not sure many people can handle the 2017 era with all these 40% pullbacks. So just remember, you got to be strong-willed to handle crypto, and if emotions are going to get in the way of your strategy, make sure that you have a plan, a solid strategy to offset those emotional impulses to buy FOMO or to be fudded out of the market and sell at a local bottom. You don't want to do that either. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Take care.